If you're looking to buy a stacked NBA 2K account with max badges and more, visit sportstnb.com. He has been in the community for years and has hundreds of reviews. Click the first link in the description to get your account today.
Hey, if you guys like seeing my breakdowns of different NBA teams, go check out the latest episode of the Hoops Cast. Me and Mojo gave a grade for every team in the NBA based off of our expectations. So go give that a listen. That will be the second link in the description. And also, if you missed this announcement in the last video, if you're a fan of the My GM series that started on this channel, go sub to my second channel to see the completion of the series, as well as a new My GM series on the Portland Trailblazers. So go give that a sub if that interests you. But on to the topic of this video, the Utah Jazz have been really good this year and doesn't seem like a single person is talking about it. They are currently 11-4 in the Western Conference. They won games versus the Clippers, Sixers, and Bucks, so they haven't exactly had an easy schedule, and yet they are a top 3 team in the Western Conference. And this has come in spite of Mike Conley having one of the worst starts of any player that I can think of in recent memory. He averaged 8 points on 20% shooting over the first 4 games, and even after that bad start, he is still shooting just 38% on the year. Once he figures that out, the Utah Jazz could be scary, because Donovan Mitchell with a good point guard and some shooting around him has been unleashed. Having career best numbers in many categories, and the guys around him are hitting their shots, and the defense has been great as it always is with Rudy Gobert. And as a result, I think this team could be pretty scary in the Western Conference and even potentially be a contender. Now, I know I've been saying that about a lot of NBA teams recently, and I'm probably going to do the same thing about the Indiana Pacers for when they get Victor Oladipo back. But I really just think that's the state of the NBA right now. There are definitely front runners, but there are legitimately 10 teams that would not shock me if they won a championship. Thank God the Warriors are gone. Anyways, let's talk about the Utah Jazz and see if they could be a real threat in the Western Conference. I wanted to open this video with some Donovan Mitchell appreciation. As I said in the intro, he is having a career year. He's averaging 26 points per game, which is a career high by 2.1 points. He is grabbing 5.7 rebounds, which is a career high by 1.6 a game. He is shooting 45% from the field, which is 1.6% higher than his best. He's shooting 39% from 3, which is 3% better than his best. The only thing that he's down on are blocks and steals, which is only by 0.1 for both of those, as well as assists, which he's only down by 0.3. Oh, and he's also down on turnovers, which is obviously a good thing. And I think the reason that Mitchell is having the performance that he is so far is the guys around him. Last year, Derek Favors and Ricky Rubio were the starting power forward and point guard of this roster. And off of the bench, they only had Royce O'Neal and 50 games of Kyle Korver for shooting. There was also Jay Crowder, but he shot just 33% last year. This year, on the other hand, the Jazz have Bojan Bogdanovic, who is one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. Shooting 45% on 7 attempts to open the year, they have Conley rather than Rubio, who, even though he is struggling to shoot the ball overall, he is shooting a league average 36% on 5.4 attempts a game, and they're starting Royce O'Neal at power forward, and he is currently shooting 51% from 3. That won't hold up at quite that level, but he can't be left open. And this, of course, means that Jinglin' Joe Ingles is coming off of the bench. Now, he has struggled so far, but you can fully expect that to change. He's a career 41% shooter on 4 attempts from deep, so no reason to believe that he won't pick that up. So that means the Utah Jazz went from 1 shooter in the starting lineup with Donovan Mitchell to 3, and it also means that Joe Ingles, who is one of the better three-point shooters in the NBA, is now coming off the bench. On top of the extra spacing, they also flat out have more scoring. Conley is realistically a 17 to 20 point guy. He's just struggled so far transitioning to a new team. And Bojan Bogdanovic has been ridiculously good for this team. He is shooting crazy well from 3, as I said, but he is also averaging 21 points per game on 46% shooting, which with his 3-point percentage and free throw percentage puts him at 60% true shooting. Just great, especially for the measly $17 million that they paid the guy. I understand calling $17 million measly is kind of weird, but you know what I mean. I'd happily take a measly $17 million. As for the other guys on this roster, Jeff Green is actually hitting threes so far, which would be great if he kept that up because Jeff Green with a league average jump shot is a really solid player. Emmanuel Mudiay has struggled from three, which is unfortunate after the promise he showed in that area for the Knicks last year, but overall he's been an okay 8 points a game off of the bench, and Ed Davis, who doesn't get to play nearly enough behind Gobert, has averaged 5.2 rebounds a game in just 12 minutes of action. For those of you who can't quite grasp just how ridiculous that is, that would put him at 15 rebounds a game per 36. Last year, he averaged 8 boards a game in just 17 minutes of play for the Nets, which was 17 per game per 36. Ed Davis is secretly one of the 5 best rebounders in the NBA. Unfortunately, he can't get a lot of playing time because he can never play next to Rudy Gobert. Weird tangent about Davis, by the way. I had a dream about Ed Davis, which I know sounds really weird, about a month ago. It was a dream about Ed Davis being a really good 3-point shooter out of nowhere. I don't know why these are my dreams. I guess my brain saw my failing love life, or rather non-existent one, failing college grades, and shitty YouTube channel and said, hey, this guy's never gonna have a girlfriend or a career, so let's just make him dream about Ed Davis being a 3-point shooter. That'll make him happy. My mind is a slowly falling apart hellscape. Then of course there is the guy who was the best center in the NBA for like a week, and then Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Karl Anthony Towns happened. Rudy Gobert has had a mixed season so far. He is averaging 13 points, 14 rebounds, 2 blocks, and he is also doing so shooting 66%. The reason I say it's mixed is because last year he averaged 16 points but just 12 rebounds. However, everything else has been a downgrade. He's getting a few less blocks per game and he is shooting worse from the field. The number drop off has been pretty marginal, but with it, Rudy Gobert has complained a bit about his role within the offense, which I gotta say is dumb. I think very highly of Rudy Gobert. I placed him as the 14th best player in the league in my top 100 player rankings videos. I really value the level of defensive impact that he brings to a team. I find it quite ridiculous that he has never made an all-star team with his level of talent. But offensively, get offensive rebounds, get a dunk off of a lob or a dump off pass. And that's about it. He really can't do more than that, and there's not any shame in it. With the Jazz having added 2 additional 20-plus point per game scorers to the roster, there is no longer any reason for them to actively look to get Gobert in the position to score. It's pretty much just going to happen if the defense gives it to them. You got a good thing around you, Rudy. Keep your mind off the offense and go get a 3rd consecutive Defensive Player of the Year award. Unless Marcus Smart steals it from you. I don't know why I just said that like I'm talking directly to Rudy Gobert. I seriously doubt that he's watching this video. If he is, hey Rudy, oui, croissant, and I surrender, I guess. Anyways, those are the players' stats. Now let's talk about how they're performing as a team. The Jazz are currently 6th in 3-point percentage when they were 11th last season, so that has clearly made a difference. They're doing a good job taking care of the ball. They're top 10 in that category. But most importantly of all, they are 1st in the NBA in defense, which is something that tends to happen when you have a Rudy Gobert on your team. But with the amount of shooters on this team, with 2 18 to 20 point scorers added to the roster, it's reasonable to expect them to be around a top 10 offensive team by the season's end. So far, they've been 22nd in offensive rating, which is kind of confusing, being that they improved a lot with personnel, but I think that it'll be figured out. And it's worth mentioning that a lot of those lower numbers have come from Mike Conley struggling. In the 6 games that he has scored 18 or more points, they won 5 of those 6, and the Jazz scored an average of 111 points per game, which would put them at 14th in the NBA rather than 22nd, so that's closer to what they probably will be. But in terms of this team being a contender, they do not have the superstar player that you typically need to win one. But I also don't 100% subscribe to that line of thinking, though I'm sure many of you who comment below on this video saying I'm an idiot do subscribe to that thinking. Speaking of subscribing, subscribe to my channel. That was a bad joke, but whatever. What I will say about this team, regardless of superstar talent or not, is that I'm always going to feel pretty comfortable betting money on a team that hangs their hat on the defensive end of the court, rather than the offensive end. Because over a 7 or less game stretch, you can lose some offense. defense isn't really something that you have an off night with typically. It's why I'd honestly bet on the Jazz winning a championship over the Rockets. Houston has the superstar, but they got zero defense, and we know how Harden and Russ love to shit the bed in the playoffs. So a team like the Jazz with a great defense and a very solid offense is not a team that the Lakers or Clippers are going to want to run into. I actually think this Jazz team could be a horrible matchup for the Lakers. Rudy Gobert on Anthony Davis is a great matchup. Royce O'Neal shoots the ball 4 times a game, so he can dedicate all of his effort to the defensive end of the floor. So the offense will not come easy for the Lakers. I would be pretty damn shocked if they made their way to the finals with both of the teams that we got in LA, but a conference finals appearance where they give the Lakers or Clippers a run for their money is definitely within the realm of possibility. So that's the Utah Jazz. Good shit happening in Utah. Now, if we could just get Donovan Mitchell and the whole Jazz organization to stop praising and adoring a deadbeat pedo, everything would be great. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.